Thank you for joining us for this North Metro TV Local Decision Candidate Spotlight. I'm sitting down with Adam Darling, who's running for City Council in the city of Ham Lake. And there are 3 candidates in this race, but the other 2 candidates decided not to participate. So that's why we're just here with Mr. Darling tonight. And well, first, I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the viewers and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Adam Darling. I've been here in Ham Lake for just over 10 years. My wife and I moved here from the North End in St. Paul. Prior to that, we were in Uptown. I grew up in North Minneapolis and born and raised. Went to school in downtown Minneapolis at De La Salle High School. Attended the University of Minnesota, and now we're out here.
So what brought you to Ham Lake first?
Well, when we moved out of St. Paul, the area we were in was not the greatest, and we had just had our second daughter. And my wife's parents are here in Ham Lake, and she grew up here, and we were looking for a little more room, something a little more rural, and just to get away from the traffic and the crime in the city. So we came out here. We're close to Grandma and Grandpa. I tell you, free babysitting helps. So it was a good fit for us.
Great. So why did you decide to run for City Council?
Well, in the time we've been here, it really seems that there is not a lot of discussion or difference of opinion on the Ham Lake City Council. It's kind of an old boys network. In fact, shortly after we moved here, the mayor was Paul Munier, and he wasn't when we moved in. Paul Munier became mayor shortly after we moved in, and he beat Gary Kirkheide, who's currently on the council, for that mayor's seat. Gary had been there for 10 years prior to Paul Munier becoming mayor. And the council turned right around and reappointed Gary Kirkheide to the vacated seat that Paul left. And we thought that was odd. It left it with the exact same makeup that the council already had, because it's a 5-person council, including the mayor. And in the time that Paul was there, it was pretty much a 4-to-1 vote on everything, and he left frustrated. In the last 2 elections, at least, the current incumbents have all run unopposed. There is no difference of opinion on that council. It's a 5-0 vote on everything they do. And when citizens come in and disagree with the direction that the council is taking, they are not treated well, and they are not listened to. They have Robert's Rules of Order wielded against them as a weapon rather than as simply a way to run a meeting. And I want to give the average citizen in Ham Lake a voice that I don't think they currently have on the council.
What are some issues that are important to you? If you say there's no difference of opinion on the council now, what are there differences of opinion that you would bring?
Yeah, there are. The current council, it's not so much, it's a nonpartisan position. But the current members of the council lean politically to the right, and that's fine. A lot of the country does. A lot of this area in Ham Lake does. But the only discussion on that council is, are we going to lean to the right, or are we going to lean extremely to the right? Most of the people who are on there currently run on a low tax agenda. And yes, we do have ridiculously low property taxes for the city of Ham Lake. Your median priced house is $280,000, and the average tax there on that house for the city would be $720. And if you look around in the surrounding area, Columbus, Andover, East Bethel, and Blaine, all of those are much higher city-wise. But they also have the services to show for it. You look at all the development in Blaine and how much that has grown, and the number of new houses that have gone in there, and all of the businesses along Highway 65. Andover spends more on their police per capita than Ham Lake does. And they have the crime rates to show for it. The city is twice the size of Ham Lake, and yet has less than twice the crime. And that's because they've taken a proactive approach to their policing. We, on the other hand, in Ham Lake, tried to start our own department in 2011, which I think was just a feather in the mayor's cap, something he was trying to do in being the law and order candidate leaning to the right. And at the same time tried to claim he was saving money. Well, they wildly underestimated what that would cost. And the Anoka County Sheriff even told him at the time, I'm fine with you doing whatever you want, but be honest with the citizenry about what it's going to cost. And if you looked at proposals around the country where cities had started their own police forces, they were much higher in their initial estimates, and all of them had cost overruns. So it was a very pie in the sky estimate that they used. And what they did was really try to beat down the Anoka County Sheriff's Department for what they were going to charge us for policing. Well, what we ended up doing was, we used to be at 40 hours policing. We're now at 36 over the course of the day, which means you have two 12-hour shifts and one 12-hour shift that overlaps those two, which means we have no police force overnight. We have one officer on that's dedicated to Ham Lake. If he has to drive up to East Bethel to help with a car accident up there, it means that we have no one that's actively patrolling in Ham Lake. Yes, the Anoka County Sheriffs will spread out at that time, but there's nobody running around to shine a light into parking lots or up and down local streets. We have 36 square miles, and there's nobody policing those in the evening or overnight. I'd like to see our police force stronger. I'd like to pay for a proactive police force. Have an investigator that's dedicated to Ham Lake that maybe can look into crime that goes on along the 65 corridor and the businesses that are being hit along there. I'd like to see some community service officers. I'd like to see a couple guys on overnight so that there can be one answering calls and one that's out, being proactive, shining those lights into business parking lots or in the windows. I'd also like to see us take a more active role in taking care of our local natural resources. We have Ham Lake, which is filled with curly leaf pondweed and Eurasian water milfoil. The city owns 1/3 of the shoreline around Ham Lake, and it's a city park, and yet they don't feel the need to dedicate any money to helping clean up those things. They've pushed it off onto the homeowners around Ham Lake, and the Chamber of Commerce has stepped in and started paying for that. Well, they're not on the lake and using it, but they see it as a resource, and they're willing to put their money where their mouth is, and the city has tried to beg off on it, saying, not our problem. They've also reduced the inspections for oak wilt and for emerald ash borer. All of those were coming down with the Parks Association taking care of those things, and the longtime leader of the Parks Association was forced out. They wouldn't renew his contract. They have brought many proposals before the Ham Lake City Council on how they can spend to take care of these issues, and they've been denied every time. So I really think they're being penny wise and pound foolish when it comes to tight fists and saying low taxes and that's our only issue. They are beholden to an ideology and not to serving the people of Ham Lake.
So do you think that the citizens of Ham Lake, if they are, the things you're talking about would cost money. So do you think that the citizens of Ham Lake, to get those type of services, would be open to a tax increase on the city portion of their property tax?
I think there is room to increase the levy. Now, the current mayor in the most recent issue of the Ham Laker, Mike Van Kirk, came out and said that, well, we paid for everything, and the old levy was, he said it was 26%, which is crazy. It's off by a factor of 100. It's actually 0.26%. It was 0.26%, and this year it'll be 0.25% in the 2017 budget. And that's small potatoes. Honestly, it saves the average taxpayer a few dollars. I say for the cost of a can of pop a day per household, there's 5,000 households in Ham Lake, for the cost of less than a can of pop, for 50 cents a day, you would add $1 million to the city budget. It would allow you to have proactive policing. It would allow you to clean up the stuff that needs cleaning up in Ham Lake. It would allow us to start looking into development of things like sewer line and joining the East Bethel Sewer District on the north end of 65 there in that business corridor. We don't have our own grocery store. I've talked to residents who said it's ridiculous that I gotta take my money and I gotta go to Blaine, or I gotta go to Andover, or I have to go to Forest Lake, drive 8 miles in any direction and give my money to another municipality to buy groceries. The reason we don't have a grocery store is because Soderquist left because they couldn't expand their septic. And that's because the Ham Lake City Council was short-sighted in not joining the East Bethel Sewer District. They whipped up a fervor among people telling them everybody in Ham Lake was going to have to join a sewer district and everybody was going to have to take city water, which just wasn't the case and wouldn't happen. We're a large rural area. There's no way you're going to ever make that happen. And yet it was slowly taken out piece by piece from the comprehensive plan for Ham Lake. You won't find any mention of it in the current comprehensive plan for long-term planning. But it's something that needs to be done. If we want businesses and we want to grow our tax base, so that we can have better things and nicer things within Ham Lake, we have to have the infrastructure there, and they're not willing to spend on the infrastructure. So like I said, less than a can of pop a day. I can afford it. I think most people can afford it. And it would still leave us, out of 850 cities right now, we're about 61st lowest for local property taxes. It would put us at about 110th out of 800. So we'd still be in the bottom 15% of lowest tax cities within Minnesota by raising it this much. Mm-hmm. And you'd never miss it. I mean, honestly, they talked back in 2011 when they did the whole debacle with let's start our own police department. What they ended up saving was a few dollars per household a year. But what did we lose? We lost proactive policing. We lost a guy overnight helping out. So it's a matter of trade-offs, and I think if you ask the businesses along 65 that have seen their crime go up, we have a place on Andover Boulevard and Highway 65 that was hit for close to $50,000 worth of vandalism, which was people stealing the copper off of their air conditioning systems. I bet that guy would pay a few bucks more a month, you know, a few dollars more a year if he didn't have to pay for that kind of damage. And I think most people would.
Okay. As we finish up today, a couple more questions. Why should someone vote for you? Why should they cast their vote for Adam Darling?
I believe that being on the city council is a service position. It's just that, it's service. I am serving the people by doing this. It is not for my glory, it is not for an ideology, it is simply to be a voice for the community itself. Right now, I don't think the community has that voice. My door is open. My literature that I'm handing out has my phone number on it. It has my email address on it. It's got the website. You can contact me there. I can be contacted through Facebook. I want to hear what people have to say. I want to represent their views. This is a sit down between you and I because the two guys I'm running against didn't want to have a debate. And I think they've done this over and over. They didn't contribute their profiles to the ABC papers to get to know the candidates. They didn't want to show up here for a debate. I don't believe they're on your website with any of their information. I'm curious to see if they've submitted their stuff to the Star Tribune because they did an active call out to everybody. So them not being here is just another sign of, I think, the disrespect and the disregard they have for the people that they're supposed to be serving.
Final question for you. What makes Ham Lake special to you?
It's that rural character. Everybody talks about it. Everybody likes that we have a rural character to Ham Lake. It's a minimum 1 acre lot size, and everybody pushes that, oh, I'm all for the minimum 1 acre lot size. There's nobody pushing to not be 1 acre lot size. Even the Met Council says, well, you should really not have development larger than one house per 2.5 acres. And part of that is because of our septic systems. You have to have room to expand your septic system on your property if something goes wrong with the first one. So your land has to be larger because we are that zoned for rural residential and agriculture with all the sod farms. The lots have to be that size. So nobody's pushing them to get more like Blaine. But we do have room for more housing, and we do have room, obviously, for more businesses. It's a wasteland along 65 right now through Ham Lake. You can tell where Blaine ends and where Andover begins and East Bethel begins because there's just nothing going on there. There are a few diehard businesses that have been there for a long time, and everybody loves having them there, but unless we take care of things, they won't be there. So it's that rural character, but I don't think that having a rural character to the city means that we have to live in the past. I think that there's a lot we can do to bring Ham Lake into the present and look toward its future.
Well, I want to thank you for coming in today and sharing some of your views with us. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
All right. I want to remind you, you can always head to northmetrotv.com for complete local decision coverage. It's all there for you. This was a candidate spotlight with Adam Darling for the Ham Lake City Council. And remember, we did invite all 3 candidates to participate, and Adam was the only one who took us up on that opportunity. You can always, like I said, go to northmetrotv.com for more information. I've been your host, Ben Hale. Thank you for watching.